Hello dears, today we will be discussing about the properties of cardiac muscle. Very important, it is a frequently asked 5-mark question. You need to study every points which we are discussing here. You need to make a small note, okay, a 5-mark note on this point, that is properties of cardiac muscle fibers. So just like the muscle fiber you have studied in the chapter muscular system, cardiac muscle fiber is also a type of muscle fiber which share many common properties with the skeletal muscle fiber. But it is different. Why? Because cardiac muscle is having intercalated disc, and this intercalated disc is having many gap junctions. And these gap junctions are the areas of electrical synapses. We will study it in the coming slides. Okay. So now, for the time being, you just note that cardiac muscle fiber is a specialized muscle fiber that shares many properties with the skeletal muscle fiber. Now, what are the peculiar specific properties of cardiac muscle fiber? There are 9 specific properties. One is automaticity. 2 is rhythmicity, which is otherwise called chronotropism. The term is very important. Then conductivity or dromotropism, again the term is important. Contractility, inotropism. Excitability, bathmotropism. Then distensibility, long refractory period, functional sensation, and the 9th one is length tension relationship. We will be dealing with each of these properties individually, and all these properties are very important. The first property is automaticity. So what does automaticity means? It means that the heart can beat by its own even in the absence of nerve supply. So if you take the heart out, it can beat for some time by generating impulses of its own. So that is termed as automaticity. It is the ability of the cardiac muscle to continue to contract regularly even in the absence of its nerve supply. The next is rhythmicity. So the heart not only contracts, but it has a certain rhythm in that contraction. Rhythmicity refers to the rhythmic excitation of the heart, and this is called autorhythmicity. So who is responsible for this automaticity and rhythmicity? It is a SA node, or rather the pacemaking tissues of the heart. So the pacemaking tissues of the heart are responsible for what? The automaticity and rhythmicity. What are the pacemaking tissues? We will discuss it in the next slide. So what are the pacemaking tissues in the heart? There are 3 intrinsic pacemaking tissues. So what is pacemaking? It is a ability to generate its own impulse. Okay, it is a ability to generate its own impulse for the beginning of contraction. So that is pacemaking, and there are 3 intrinsic pacemaking tissues. One is SA node, the other one is AV node, and then bundle of His, and then Purkinje fibers. All these things can produce impulses by its own, but the main one is SA node, which is called the primary pacemaker. And why is SA node called primary pacemaker? Because the rate of generation of impulse is more in case of SA node, which means SA node produces about 100 impulses per minute. AV node produces 60 impulses per minute. Bundle of His produces about 40 impulses per minute. So SA node produces maximum impulse in a minute, and this overrides the activity of all other pacemakers. So SA node acts as a primary pacemaker. So when AV node will produce impulse? Only when SA node is failing to produce a particular impulse. So when SA node fails, AV node will take up the baton and AV node will produce impulse. But on which rate? On its rate. What is the rate? It is about 40 to 60. And when AV node fails, both SA node and AV node fails, who will generate the impulse? A bundle of His. And at what rhythm? At what rate? 25 to 40 per minute. So these three are the intrinsic pacemaking tissues, and SA node act as a primary pacemaker because it generates the maximum impulse in 1 minute. See, the heart is having about 3 types of muscle fibers. One is the excitable muscle fibers or the pacemaking muscle fibers. 2 is a conductive muscle fibers. And 3 is the actual contractile muscle fibers. So most part of the heart is made up of what? This contractile muscle fibers. And this excitable muscle fibers, they are able to excite or generate its own impulses, and they are termed as pacemaking tissues of the heart, and main pacemaker is SA node. So SA node will generate the impulse, and this impulse should be conducted to all part of the heart, so that the contractile muscle fibers of the heart can contract according to the rhythm or rate of this impulse. So conductivity refers to those muscle fibers that conduct the impulse from the pacemaking tissues to the part of the heart. And there is a specialized conductive system of heart, which is itself a 5-mark question. So what is conductivity? Certain cardiac muscles, they conduct impulses generated in the pacemaker tissue, and there is a specialized conducting pathway, and the impulse, as soon as it is produced in the SA node, will spread through this conducting pathway to almost all parts of the heart, so that the muscles can contract. Coming to the SA node, it is a primary pacemaker of the heart. It is located in right atrium close to the opening of superior vena cava. Then it is about 1.5 centimeters long and 0.5 centimeters wide. And this SA node contains specialized cells called pacemaker cells, and these pacemaker cells generate impulses for excitation and contraction of muscles. Then the action potentials from this SA node are of slow response type. We will study about the slow response type action potentials when we study the excitability of the cardiac muscle fiber. Then velocity of conduction of impulse is slow, which is about 0.05 meter per second. And interestingly, this SA node doesn't have any contractile muscle fibers. SA node doesn't have contractile muscle fibers. Instead, SA node is having specialized fibers called pacemaker cells, and these pacemaker cells generate impulses. So now the impulses is generated in SA node, which is situated in the right atrium. And this impulse should spread to the right atrium, right ventricle and left ventricle. Okay. So from the SA node, impulses will be spreading to whole of the atria, that means right atrium and left atrium directly. And the impulses from the atria could not be conducted to the ventricles. Why? Because the atria and ventricles are separated by atrioventricular ring. So you need a separate tract to conduct these impulse from SA node to ventricles, and that is via the conductive system. So you have an AV node, which is located in the lower part of right atrium close to the interatrial septum. So from the SA node to the AV node, there are 3 internodal pathways that conduct the impulses. So the 3 internodal pathways that connect SA node and AV node are anterior internodal pathway or tract of Bachmann, middle internodal pathway or tract of Wengbach, posterior internodal pathway or tract of Thoril. The velocity of the conduction of impulse is high. It is about 1 meter per second. Earlier it was only 0.05 meter per second. Now it is 1 meter per second, and through the internodal pathways, the impulse will reach the AV node. Next is about the atrioventricular node. So we have seen that the impulse starting from the SA node is conducted through the internodal pathways to the AV node, and this AV node is situated in the lower part of right atrium close to the interatrial septum and just above the atrioventricular ring. So from the AV node, the impulse will be conducted to the bundle branches. And there is a peculiarity for this AV node. It slows down the rate of conduction. Why? Because the AV node has fibers which is very small in diameter. So big diameter means faster conduction, small diameter means slower conduction. So in the AV node, the muscle fibers are small and therefore the speed of conduction in AV node is slow. And thus a delay of 0.1 second occurs for an impulse to be transmitted through the AV node. This is called AV nodal delay. And the ability of this AV node to slow down impulse, it is called decremental conduction. Very important. So there occurs a delay in transmission of impulse from SA node to the ventricles in AV node, and that delay is called AV nodal delay, and the ability of this AV node to slow down the impulse is termed as decremental conduction. And this decremental conduction is very useful. Why? Because that is why during atria contraction contractions are relaxed. So ventricles can accommodate the blood that is pumped by the atrium. So if both are contracting simultaneously, then ventricles won't be filled by that much of blood. Okay, 20% of ventricular filling takes place by this atrial contraction, and because at the time of atrial contraction ventricles are relaxed. Why ventricles are relaxed? Because it hasn't get the impulses from the SA node. So because of the AV nodal delay, ventricle filling takes place. So decremental conduction is useful. From the AV node, there arises a bundle of His, and this bundle of His is located in the interventricular septum. Then bundle of His will divide into right bundle branch and left bundle branch. And the right bundle branch will supply to the right ventricle. Left bundle branch again divides into an anterior division and the posterior division. The anterior division supplies to the anterior portion of the left ventricle, and posterior division will supply to the posterior division of the left ventricle. And the bundle branches, when they enter the ventricular walls, they then branch out as Purkinje fibers. Next is a Purkinje fibers, and Purkinje fibers are the fibers that supply to the whole of the ventricles, right? And these Purkinje fibers are the largest cells in the heart, and speed of conduction is thus very great in Purkinje fibers. So SA node, impulse arose. At the AV node, the impulse delayed, and from the AV node, when the impulse reaches a Purkinje fibers, at the level of Purkinje fibers, the impulse will spread so fast that both ventricles start contracting simultaneously. Why? Because the Purkinje fibers are large muscle fibers with numerous gap junctions present. So these are the conduction velocities. At SA node it is 0.05, then internodal pathways it is 1 meter per second, then at AV node again delay occurs, only 0.05 meter per second is the speed, then in bundle of His it is 1, Purkinje fibers maximum speed it is 4 meter per second, and in ventricular muscle it is 1 meter per second. Next property is excitability. You have studied the definition of excitability. What is excitability? It is the ability of a particular tissue to respond to different stimuli. So here excitability is the ability of the cardiac muscle to respond to different stimuli. And how will it respond? Its membrane depolarize. So there are two action potentials. you know what an action potential is, right? And there are two action potentials. One is slow response action potential, and that occurs in nodal tissues. And the next is fast response action potential that occurs in atrial and ventricular muscles and Purkinje fibers. So there are two types of action potentials developing in cardiac muscle fiber, one for the pacemaker tissue and the other for the all other muscle fibers present in the heart. There are 5 phases in the action potential curve of a cardiac muscle fiber. You should be by now knowing the action potential curve of a normal muscle fiber. Okay. So now I am discussing about the action potential curve of a cardiac muscle fiber, and there are 5 distinct phases. Phase 0. Phase 0 means a phase of rapid depolarization and overshoot. You know that which is a cation lying outside? It is Nayapurathu. Dog always lies outside. Sodium in Nayapurathu. So sodium is an outside cation, and sodium, when it starts entering into inside the cell, there occurs depolarization. So when sodium which is present outside of the cell, that is when sodium which is present in the extracellular fluid comes inside of the cell through the opening of sodium channels, what happens? It is depolarization. And at the time of stimulus, some sodium channels will open. Okay? And then what will happen? When the membrane start depolarizing and when the membrane reaches a threshold level, what will happen? The voltage gated sodium channels, numerous voltage gated sodium channels will open, and what will happen? More and more sodium will enter inside of the cell, and rapidly the depolarization curve rises to its steep. That is called overshoot. Here also you can see the same. See the overshoot you can see. Then what will happen? The sodium channels will close immediately, because just like opening is very fast, its closure is also very fast. And by that time, potassium channels are only beginning to open. And so, when the sodium channels close immediately, what will happen to the other end? The potassium channel will open and potassium will start moving outwards. So when potassium moves outwards, what will happen to the potential? The potential drops, and that is a phase 1, which is the phase of the initial rapid repolarization. So closure of the sodium channels together with the exit of the potassium ions from the cell to the ECF will make the phase initial rapid repolarization. In the muscle fiber, you have studied up to this much. But there is a peculiarity in cardiac muscle fibers. It has voltage sensitive calcium channels too. But unlike sodium channels, these calcium channels respond very slowly to the depolarization. So, when the potassium channels open, nearly at the same time the calcium channels will also open. And what will happen? The calcium channel will start entering from extracellular fluid to inside the cell. But potassium is also leaving. So the potential will remain somewhat steady, and that is called plateau phase, where the calcium ions will enter inside of the cell, but potassium ions will exit outside of the cell. Then comes a phase 3. What will happen to the calcium channels? The calcium channels are closed and potassium efflux continues. So there will be again drop of the potential, and this gives rise to phase 3, phase of final repolarization. And then phase 4, it is a restoration of membrane potential. So phase 0, which is called the phase of rapid depolarization and overshoot. Phase 1, which is a phase of initial rapid repolarization. Then phase 2, which is a plateau phase. Then phase 3, which is a phase of final repolarization. And then phase 4, phase of restoration of membrane potential. These are the 5 phases of fast response action potential. we have studied that there are two types of action potentials occurring in cardiac muscle fibers. One is a fast response action potential. We have discussed it has 5 phases, and the next is slow response action potential. The difference is in fast response action potential, you have a high contribution of sodium channels. Here the contribution is mostly from the calcium channels, while sodium channel contribution takes place only at the pre-potential stage. I'll tell you what a pre-potential is. So now you need to understand that in slow response action potential, the action potential is mainly due to what? The calcium channels, influx of calcium channels, then influx and efflux of potassium channels, not the sodium channels. So next is about the pacemaker potential. So we have seen that sinoatrial node has an inherent capacity to generate impulse. How is this happening? Because the sinoatrial node muscle fibers are having leak sodium channels in it. And when the sinoatrial node muscle fiber repolarize, you need to listen it carefully. When the muscle fiber repolarize, what is happening? The potassium ions are moving outside, okay, and the muscle repolarizes. At this stage, when the muscle begins to get into the resting membrane potential level, the potassium channel, the conduction of the potassium ions to the potassium channel slows down, and this process is called potassium decay. So what is potassium decay? The slowing down of the potassium conduction when the membrane reaches the resting membrane potential level is called potassium decay. And what happens when potassium decay occurs? The leaked sodium channels get activated. And what will happen? The leaked sodium channels will be opened and the sodium will start entering inside of the cell. And that makes a membrane depolarized again. And when the sodium ions start entering into the cell at a particular point to the later part, what will happen? Calcium channel also opens. And then from there onwards, calcium ion takes up the baton. And then immediately the potential will rise. So the calcium channels will open, and due to the calcium channels, the potential depolarization occurs, and depolarization will rise to the spike potential and then come back by efflux of potassium ions. So this is how there is potential taking place inside the sinoatrial node. Next is regarding the refractory period. You need to listen to this carefully because refractory period can be asked solely as a 3-mark question. Okay. And what is refractory period? It is a period during which muscle fiber or nerve fiber loses its excitability, which means you apply however strong a stimulus, the muscle or the nerve is not going to respond. That period is called refractory period. And there are two types of refractory period, absolute refractory period and relative refractory period. During absolute refractory period, however strong the stimulus is, the muscle is not going to respond. And during relative refractory period, if you apply a supramaximal stimulus, the muscle may respond. So that is the difference between what? Absolute and relative refractory period. And in case of cardiac muscle fibers, the refractory period extends to most part of the mechanical response. You know that a muscle is having an electrical response, excitability, and a mechanical response. In case of skeletal muscle fiber, the mechanical response begins after the electrical response. So muscle fibers can be summated. So there can be summated, or tetanus can occur in a skeletal muscle fiber. But in case of cardiac muscle fiber, the refractory period extends to most part of the mechanical response. So, mechanical responses of ventricular muscle cannot be merged, and cardiac muscle cannot be tetanized. Because during contraction, the muscle is under what? Refractory period. So no new stimulus can be applied, no summation of the stimulus can happen, and cardiac muscle thus cannot be tetanized. But in case of skeletal muscle fiber, after the electrical response ends, the muscle is contracting. So you apply a second stimulus, you apply a third stimulus, the strength of the stimulus goes on increasing and the summative effect can happen in case of a skeletal muscle fiber. Why? Because the mechanical response always succeeds the electrical response. But in case of cardiac muscle fiber, they too merge. So it cannot be summated or tetanized. That is a peculiarity of long refractory period in cardiac muscle fiber. Next function is distensibility. The ability of the cardiac muscle fiber to stretch to accommodate blood is called distensibility. And because of distensibility, the adequate filling of atrial and ventricular chambers take place. So next is about the contractility of the cardiac muscle fiber. So what is contractility? The ability of the cardiac muscle fiber to respond to the electrical stimuli by contraction is called contractility. And due to contractility of the cardiac muscle fiber, the ventricles pump the blood into the circulation. And this contractility is having two features. One is all or none low and the other is effect on load. So what is all or none low? All or none low says that if you apply a stimulus, if it is adequate strength, it will produce the maximum magnitude of action potential. And if you are giving a less stimulus, if you are giving a stimulus which is of less threshold, then it will produce no action potential at all. So action potential do not depend on the strength of the stimulus. Once above threshold, it will produce action potential. Below threshold, there is no action potential at all. That is called all or none low. And this all or none low is applicable to cardiac muscle fibers too, but in the syncytium. So what is syncytium? In cardiac muscle fiber, the cardiac muscle fibers act as a functional syncytium. You need to look keenly to that point. It doesn't act as a structural syncytium because cardiac muscle fibers are separated from each other, but it acts as a functional syncytium. Why? Because the cardiac muscle fibers have intercalated disc, and the intercalated disc has numerous gap junctions through which the electrical stimulus is communicated from one fiber to the another. So the electrical stimulus can be communicated very fastly between the cardiac muscle fibers, and so they can together function as a syncytium. So there is two syncytium in cardiac muscle among cardiac muscle fibers. One is atrial syncytium and the other is ventricular syncytium, and they are separated by means of atrioventricular ring. So the atrial syncytium means atria will contract as a syncytium together, and ventricular syncytium means ventricles will contract as a syncytium together, and all or none low is applicable in this case. Next is about the effect of load. So what is load? Remember your physics classes, a load is a burden, right? So the cardiac muscle fibers will be having two burden to carry. One is preload, means before contraction it is having preload to carry. And then what is afterload? So when the contraction begins, there comes an additional load, that is called afterload. So we can discuss it later when we discuss the BP classes, okay? So here I'll give you a rough idea about what is preload and afterload. So that heart muscles, the cardiac chambers, they get filled up with blood during diastole or relaxation. So cardiac chambers, or rather the ventricles, gets filled up during ventricular diastole. So the amount of blood remaining in the ventricles after diastole is called end diastolic volume. And what is this blood doing? The amount of blood will stretch the ventricular muscles, so the muscles will become more longer. And you have studied about the optimal length. So what is optimal length? It is a sufficient length at which maximum cross bridging can happen. So within physiological limits, when the length of the cardiac muscle fiber is more, the contraction strength is also more. That law is called Frank-Starling's law of heart. What is Frank-Starling's law? Very important. It can be asked as a 3-mark question. Within physiological limits, the force of contraction is directly proportional to the initial length of muscle fiber. So, when is this initial length increasing? When more and more blood gets filled up in the heart within physiological limits. Okay, it should not exceed the quantity, it should not exceed the capacity of the cardiac chambers. So within physiological limits, when the amount of blood reaching the ventricles is more, it will stretch the ventricular muscles, it will stretch the initial length, and the force of contraction becomes strong. So that is called the Frank-Starling's law of heart. And that blood which is present at the time of ventricular diastole or after the ventricular diastole is called preload. And with the preload, the ventricle starts to contract. Okay? And then comes the afterload. So ventricle with the preload starts to contract, and immediately an opposing force will fall on the ventricles because there is blood present in what? Aorta and pulmonary artery. There is some amount of blood present in aorta and pulmonary artery, and that blood, they always tend to return back to the what? Ventricles. So they start opposing the motion of this ventricles, and that becomes the afterload. We can do it clearly during BP classes, and during BP classes we will discuss why the atrioventricular, why the aortic and semilunar valves open during ventricular diastole, and what is the pressure difference, and what is a peculiarity if the afterload is raised, and what is the work done, what should be the overwork done by the ventricles in order to overcome this afterload. We can discuss everything in BP classes. Okay, now you need to understand that afterload is a blood present in aorta and pulmonary artery. It can be called as resistance, and it is non-beneficial, which means more amount of blood in aorta and pulmonary artery, more work the heart has to do to pump this end diastolic volume into the circulation. Okay.